Everybody, welcome once again to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Chris Callicutt. Raj Giri is standing by. David Penzer might be joining us today. We're working to make that happen. But we're going to talk about SmackDown Live for August 8th, 2017. Chris, how you doing this morning?
I am doing well, Glenn. Hope you are, my friend.
I'm doing well, but I'll tell you, I wish I was doing as well as John Cena was last night. I like some of what he was having when he opened the show. When's the last time we saw Cena in such a good and playful mood coming to the ring?
He was straight giddy, was he not?
Yeah.
Now, but too, this is kind of like self-aware John Cena again. He's dancing to his own theme because, you know, the Toronto crowd provided a little bit of a remix, like some crowds like to do. Yeah. So I like self-aware Cena. He's kind of fun.
No, it was great, man. Toronto, great place to have WWE 2 nights in a row. Fantastic seeing him up there in Canada, and I thought the crowd was really good last night for the most part. So Cena opens the show, has a promo off with Baron Corbin. What did you make of Cena incorporating on the fly, and perhaps only Cena could do this? You know, the signs in the crowd that say Corbin's a dumpster fire, calling him skinny fat. I mean, when's the last time we saw, you know, essentially the internet troll comments come out of the mouth of a WWE superstar?
Well, if anybody can do it, I guess John Cena would be able to give him a little bit of chain length to do something like that on the fly. I doubt he got any heat backstage for pulling a little improv, because to me it made it work. Corbin's reaction was great, and they actually seemed to work okay together, I thought, because Cena sort of led the way and Corbin had some decent comebacks, and he didn't exactly sound like he was reading from a cue card this time. So, you know.
Yeah. So the match, Daniel Bryan came out, set the match for SummerSlam. My challenge in getting into this is that it's tough to go toe-to-toe with Cena in a promo face-off, and I don't think Corbin is there yet.
Oh, no.
I think they should have given him one more feud to kind of bring him to this level. I think it's a little soon for him, both inside the ring and on the mic. But Cena, though, man, if anyone could carry it for both of them, it's him. And I think that last night, seeing him energized was an absolutely fantastic way to kick off the show.
Yeah, and I think this is the purpose of this feud. As I alluded to last week, John Cena's record at SummerSlam is not exemplary. And I think this is a chance to where you put Corbin over. And even if Cena loses this match somehow, then I think that sets up Corbin for the cash in later in the night. Either that or he'll cash in before, and then Cena gets number 17 later that night against Corbin. I still think there's going to be some championship constituency here at SummerSlam. I think there's going to be a belt around John Cena's waist, possibly at SummerSlam, if they decide to go that way.
Wait, how do you see that happening?
Like, oh, hey, Raj.
The voice of reason chimes in from nowhere.
Exactly. Now, I was saying that Corbin could possibly cash in before his match with Cena at SummerSlam, and then Cena versus Corbin at SummerSlam could now be for the championship somehow.
I don't see that. I think if they wanted to go that route, they would have just made it Cena versus Jinder. I mean, they could have Corbin cash in at SummerSlam, but yeah, they would have just done Cena versus Jinder. Plus, you know, Cena's going to be taken off soon.
Yeah.
So
as Wrestling Inc. broke the news, Cena's headed to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, Cena's headed to Raw.
No, that's feasible. So, like I said, the most, I guess, reasonable thing for this feud is to put Corbin over on his way to Raw.
Yeah, that would make sense, but it is Cena, and I don't think they see Corbin at Cena's level, and you know their history with what they do with guys that have the Money in the Bank briefcase, which they job incessantly until they cash in. So I think my guess is Cena probably wins and goes to Raw with a head of steam and feuds with whoever. Now I'm working on getting David Penzer on. We're having some technical issues. I think that's him, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Raj coming in to kill Chris's dreams and then hopping him off the mic immediately.
He stole Matt Morgan's gimmick for a minute. So
yeah, you know, that's something we got to ask Matt about Monday when you're going to be sitting in, Chris, on Monday Night Raw. Is if you're someone like Corbin last night, how do you not corpse? How do you keep a straight face when all that's going on and you've got John frickin' Cena tossing those insults at you, you know, that you weren't prepared for, that weren't cleared ahead of time, and you're supposed to sit there and be like, yeah, I'm mean, you know?
No, Corbin actually, I thought, handled it really well, and he's starting to come into his own a little bit. Granted, he's not on Cena's level on the mic. He's improved drastically in the ring.
Sure.
Again, is he at Cena's level? No. Are many people in the world? No. But I think this is a great stepping stone for Corbin to get a big spotlight, because if they're putting you with Cena, that means they at least believe in you to a pretty solid extent.
Yeah. So in Toronto last night, which explains the second match, or the second segment rather, the Usos versus Ty Dillinger and Sami Zayn. So good showcase to get some hometown favorites with Dillinger and Zayn there. And granted, Zayn's from Montreal. But, you know, it's pretty close to Toronto, folks. It's Canada. They're just happy. They're just happy to be there and see their own represented. The Usos coming out to their new theme, which I did download and analyze. Unfortunately, did you listen to the new Usos theme?
I like it. And I've not dissected it to the extent that you have, I don't think, because I have not downloaded it and put it on repeat. However, I do like that they rap to their own theme, and it seems kind of repetitive, but it still gives it a nice little touch, a little personal touch.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, oh, they're rapping to their own theme. The Usos did a rap song to their theme, and I downloaded it, and it's interesting you mentioned the word repetition, because it's essentially the same, like, 4 lines just repeated for 5 minutes. It's not a rap song. They just say the same thing again and again.
So the loop strikes again, as we alluded to last week as well. So
is John Cena and Enzo Amore the only 2 guys, you know, maybe R-Truth, that get to do a rap theme and it's actually a song? I mean, I don't know if you've actually listened to the whole version of Soft as a Sin, but there's verses to that thing, man. Like, that goes on and on and on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, you know, Cena's is what? 10 years old, 15 years old now.
Still fantastic.
R-Truth's just as old. But again, that's back when the music was pretty original all over the board, besides a few of the Jim Johnston canned rock songs just for your jobbers and whatnot. But
remember what a big deal it was when they released the compilation? And it was like, now I got the themes. Now I've got the song. Now I can listen to the entire Shane McMahon Here Comes the Money theme. And no,
get it on 8-track. Wait a minute, that wasn't that far back. So.
I remember when the first album came out. What was it, the first wrestling album? And back when you could get the you know, the Hulk Hogan Real American theme, and then you got like Jimmy Hart singing stuff. That was something else. I knew a friend who had that on LP, you know, back in the day.
Nice.
So what'd you think of the match with the Usos and Ty and Sami last night?
Again, it was a showcase for the Usos to get some heat, because they beat the hometown guys, or the home country guys, I should say. I like seeing Dillinger and Zayn team up. I think they make a really fun team. I'd like to see them do that more often. But just from a storyline perspective, it didn't do a whole lot. But then New Day comes out.
New Day comes out in red.
I would get distracted by Big E bouncing around in a red jumpsuit as well. So
yeah. It's a good match. You know, it was what it was. Curious what in the hell they're doing with either of these guys.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if it was just for, you know, the events in Canada, but Sami Zayn does have a new T-shirt, so maybe there is some sort of push waiting in the wings, or they just wanted to make a quick buck off that Canadian crowd. Who knows, folks?
Hey, guys, I'm back.
Yeah.
Hey, David, are you on?
Yeah, could you hear me?
Hey, well,
I'm new to all this stuff.
No worries, man. So, Raj, why don't you introduce our guests? Let's take a break from SmackDown.
Yeah, so we got former WCW, TNA. Actually, you're back with TNA, correct? Ring announcer David Penzer. You're back with Global Force?
Yes, sir. I think it was last time I was there was Impact Wrestling. Now I believe it's called Global Force Wrestling.
Gotcha. And you went back in, I believe it was April, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so how's it going so far?
It's good, man. It's you know, it's just a whole crew trying to rebuild a brand. Everybody gets along. Everybody, there's not any tension. Just, you know, production, creative, and talent all working hard to crank out, you know, some television product and try to build the thing back up again. So It's actually quite refreshing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, what changes are you seeing since Dixie Carter, since your last run there with Dixie Carter in charge?
Well, I had been gone for a while, so I wasn't around really for the end of her run. But I mean, I don't. As far as changes, I don't know. There's just no egos. There's not that there was egos before, but just seems like everybody's on the same page. No tension. Just trying to tell stories and give some good action and seems to be an effort on rebuilding the knockouts and some of the stuff that kind of put them on the map back in the day.
Yeah. And you were with WCW for a good chunk, 8 years, right?
The whole Monday Night Wars, yes, sir.
Yeah, that had to be a wild time.
It was wild, and then there was the wrestling part.
Yeah. How was it working with Eric Bischoff?
I really didn't have a lot of interaction with Eric Bischoff, as you can figure. He definitely had a lot, bigger fish to fry. Eric was, he wasn't the most. I think he'd admit that he's not one of those, hey, shake your hand, pat you on the back kind of bosses. He once told me I worked hard, and Tony, he had gone to bat for me on something, and I thanked him for it. And he said, "You deserve it. You worked hard. You work hard." And Tony Schiavone was there, and Tony said that's the biggest compliment Eric Bischoff could give you, is that you work hard, not that you do a good job or just that you work. So hey, you know what? It wasn't it wasn't management 101, but I took it, and I had other people I reported directly to, Craig Leathers and Tony, and so they were more pat on the back. Hey, if you need anything, let me know. But Eric was Eric, and look, I looking back at all the stuff that he was dealing with, I don't know that I'd be patchy on the back either. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Now you got involved storyline wise with an angle with Chris Jericho on Monday Nitro, or that went on for a while. Whose idea was that, and was how was it kind of going from being just a ring announcer to kind of participating?
I would say that was 75% Chris Jericho idea, 20% me, and 5% Terry Taylor. It was we started on Saturday night, which the powers that be really didn't oversee a lot, because it ended up being like the C show. It had the Night Show Thunder and then Saturday night, whereas Saturday night in the old days was the A show. It sort of became a kind of an afterthought just because there was so much content to produce. And so Chris wanted to, kind of give his character a little bit of a heel turn. And as you can see now, all these years later, the guy is creative as hell when it comes to his character and his personality, and just continues to do amazing things. And that cracked me up, actually. And we were just driving down the road, and we started talking about it, and Terry Taylor signed off on it. But it was mostly his idea, and I gave a little bit of input, and it was fun. It was kind of fun to have the attention turned around for a brief second. Didn't that wasn't something that I definitely needed a lot, but it was fun for a little while.
Yeah. And as far as actively getting involved, do you ever do anything physical? I know there was the thing with Kurt Angle in TNA, but other than that, did you ever do anything physical?
He killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a thing with the XWF invasion of Puerto Rico. Long after the XWF project was done, we did a Puerto Rican invasion for their anniversary shows, and I did a thing where I rolled around with a referee and Jimmy Hart and a manager. It was like a tag team kind of thing, and we just kind of rolled around and hit each other a little bit, and I blew up in about 40 seconds. So that was really all. There was always a couple of things. I think the Giant back in the day picked me up and by the lapel and little stuff like that. But that was the only big stuff I've really done. Were the thing with Kurt killing me, and then and the rolling around with the Puerto Rican referee where my check bounced. So I ended up doing it for free.
So what happened with Kurt?
But I got an all expense paid trip to Puerto Rico. Sorry.
Nice.
The shining star of the Caribbean.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere.
So what exactly happened with Kurt? Was that kind of planned out, or did he miss and accidentally hit you? What happened there?
I can't give away too much because I've been building it up on my own podcast. But me and Jeff Jarrett are going to talk about it in detail the next time we're at the global tapings. I mean, it was written out. It was planned. I had a company back in the day, and I still have it. It's seasonal now, and I was at a trade show in Orlando actually that day, and I got to the TV like an hour before, where I normally would be there all day for the production meeting and all that, and found out. So we really didn't have time to go through it, and so it's probably one of the reasons. But yeah, Kurt lays stuff in, and most of the athletes that he competes against, they just take it because they're athletes, and I'm a 5'6" non-athletic SOB who was pushing 40 something at the time, and so it was I looked like the Elephant Man for about a week and a half on both sides of my face, but look, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And I got a bonus for it. So
nice. Did you talk to Kurt much after that? Did he apologize or anything?
Yeah, I mean, we still joke about it when we see him. I do stuff with the Legends of Wrestling, which is we did a big show in Shea Stadium, and we do different kind of events all over the country for sports franchises and radio stations and stuff like that. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's a website called thelegendsofwrestling.com. But Brian Knobs is involved, and but we would use before Kurt went back to WWE, we would use Kurt for appearances and stuff, and we'd always we joke about it and stuff like that. But he's a super nice guy, and he certainly didn't mean to do it, didn't do it on purpose, and it was just one of those things where look, he lays stuff in, and he laid it in a little bit and just caught me in the wrong spot, and my face exploded.
Jeez. Now when WCW went under, what was the feeling backstage before that happened? Like, did you guys see it coming before it was announced that WWF was going to buy it? Because I know there were the rumors of Eric Bischoff buying it with Fusion. What was it like backstage during that period?
The last Nitro, or just the whole kind of leading up to it?
Just leading up to it.
Yeah, you're hoping for the best. You're running so hard. And back then I was working in the office too, and assistant talent relations. I was sitting in on booking meetings as a junior booking person, and, working for John Laurinaitis and talent relations with Terry Taylor. And so, we just kind of doing our jobs, hoping for the best. We didn't know. And, there wasn't, the internet wasn't like it is now. And, you couldn't turn on your cell phone and get instant access. So it almost was like a different world where, you didn't get immediate feedback like you do now. Social media, Twitter, everything's immediate. And so we just we didn't have a choice. We just, kind of went about our business and hoped for the best. But there was definitely an underlying sense of that things weren't looking good. But again, it was a totally different world. Hey, you got up and you read USA Today to get the news. So I hate to date myself. I sound like an old fart, but I am an old fart, I guess.
And what about that last Nitro? What was that like? That had to have been surreal.
That was pretty bittersweet. I'm not gonna lie. I've never drank alcohol before a show, but if I was ever going to do that, I would probably have had a couple of shots. I did, me on a personal level, I decided I took it almost as an audition. I was going to go out there and just work my ass off, and excuse my French, and show the WWE people, WWF people, what I could do, and hope for the best. And if not, I knew I went out giving it my all. And but it was pretty somber. It was we went from it wasn't an immediate high to the lowest of lows, but it was a roller coaster ride over a period of years, as you know, that was pretty somber. And hey, when I got done after the show, Shane McMahon actually pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you do a really good job out there." So I figured at least that part worked. And I had discussions with WWF at the time about a couple different times for different stuff, but just never worked out for various and sundry reasons. But the fact that I went out there, gave it my all, and the son of the boss, pulled me aside. I thought that was at least I achieved my goal. I went out there and showed him something.
It is wild to think of the 3 years between 98 to 2001 and just how hot WCW was. And you'd see Goldberg t-shirts and NWO t-shirts everywhere. And then to be out of business 3 years later, it's still just, is insane to think about.
When it goes cold, it could go cold quick. I'll tell you what, man, it happened. One day we're getting, 4.0 ratings and selling out 20,000 seat buildings every Monday night. And, you blink an eye and the ratings are 2.0 or 2.5. And, we got 2,000 people in the audience for a combined Nitro and Thunder marathon taping where, I'm, basically holding them hostage to try to keep them there, for the Thunder part. So it was an interesting experience looking back, and it was a hell of a ride while it happened, for sure. It didn't have the greatest outcome, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
I certainly don't have any regrets. Obviously I wish that it would have had a different ending, and you look back and you could say what might have been if WCW were still around, because I was sort of kind of fast tracked, sort of halfway fast tracked in my way. So it's fun. It'd be fun to look back and say, hey, if WCW was around right now, I'd be like a senior VP or something, but A, who knows, and B, it's not around, so doesn't matter.
Right. And one of the most memorable wrestling moments, I think, it might be in history, is when Hulk Hogan turned heel at Bash at the Beach and the NWO was formed. What was it like, when that happened?
I was ducking and dodging, man. That was the beginning of my ducking and dodging tour of trying to duck and dodge from the garbage and the stuff that they were throwing at the ring. Somebody just posted that video on Facebook, so I looked at him. I looked at the not the interview with Mean Gene, which was classic, but just the turn when he came to the ring and dropped the leg a few times on Savage. And man, it was you didn't know what was going to happen. Hulk's this legendary babyface character who was getting a lukewarm reception in WCW, and then you got the brilliant angle, I thought, with Hall and Nash coming in under the guise of a real war being sent by billionaire, by the WWE, with the scheme, playing off the Scheme Gene stuff, and which I thought was a brilliant angle. And, so you just didn't know, it was a huge gamble. I did for people that might be interested in how that all came about. I did a 2-part interview podcast with Kevin Sullivan, and we went in depth on the Hulk Hogan stuff and what it took to get him to turn heel. By the way, it's sitting ringside with David Penzer. You could check it out. But gotta plug myself. Sorry,
I was gonna start bringing that up.
Yeah, but yeah, but it worked. I mean, obviously it worked, and the crowd almost loved to hate him. From the very beginning, they loved to hate him, and then he came out with the Hollywood Hogan character, and they had the very unique promos for the day, and it was just it was something totally new and different, and it was super cool. But as far as being there that night, we were just trying to stay dry, really.
What was it? What was the reaction like backstage? Were people like, because I know they kept the secret from all the boys, whereas everyone just shocked backstage at what just happened?
I don't think so. I think that we saw. I think that everybody kind of saw that it was leading there, and it was more of, is he actually going to do it? You know, more when he walked out and did it, I think it was a more of, wow, they actually were able to convince him to do it, more than, oh my God, Hulk Hogan turned heel. I think there was a sense in the locker room and with the behind the scenes that was the way that they wanted it to go. I actually think it was more of the question was, if Hulk didn't do it, who was going to be the third guy? Right. I think, you know, that was more of the question. So no, I don't think the locker room was shocked. I think that it was more of a, what I remember was everybody's high-fiving. Everybody thought it went fantastic. You know, the reaction of the crowd, unprompted, loading the ring with garbage and stuff. And why you never want that for, you know, the safety of the people on the other side. It was an honest reaction to the people, and that's what you want. That's what draws money, when people whether it's they're cheering or yelling or throwing stuff or crying or in shock when the Undertaker got beat. That's the kind of stuff that, you know, where you remember where you were.
Right.
So, you know, I think there's a lot of high-fiving for the moment, and then 6 and 7 years later, not so much. But at that moment, everybody's having a good time.
Right. And you mentioned your podcast, Sitting Ringside with David Penzer. Already really entertaining stuff. I listened to your interview with Kevin Sullivan, which was great. What made you decide to start a podcast?
You know, everybody was doing it, and you know, people were calling me and asking me to be on their podcast, and some people were saying, "Hey, you know, I'm actually was surprised. You're actually semi, you know, entertaining, telling stories and stuff." And I was kind of surprised myself because, you know, but there was actually a fan who contacted me, a guy named Mike Freeland, who's an associate producer of the show, and we do a segment sometimes on the show called WCW Flashback, where he throws out something happened in WCW, and we talk about my memories of it, sort of what we're doing with you guys. But he contacted me. He said, "Dude, I enjoy listening to you on whatever podcast, fill in the blank, and I think you should do one." And I'm like, I don't know anything about it, and could you make money? Is it just a hobby? And so the answer is pretty much it's just a hobby until you make money, and not very many people make money, so it's pretty much just a hobby. But I just decided to try it, and there's a company here called Radio Influence. They were the guys who own it here in Tampa were big into the AM sports radio and FM sports radio here in the market, and they decided to start a podcast company, and they wanted to join up, and this just sort of happened, and I'm having fun with it, and knock on wood, it's I think everybody's been surprised with the downloads, and I don't know how that all works. And you know, they told me how many people are downloading it, and I'm like, you're lying, you know. But you know, I'm just enjoying it and having a good time, and trying to find creative ways to entertain the fans. And if they like it, cool. And if they don't, I urge them to tell me what they don't like about it. And you could hit me up at Twitter at David Penzer, all one word, or there's at Penzer Ringside is the City Ringside Twitter app. What do you call it? Twitter handle? Is that what it's called? Handle?
Yeah, the Twitter handle. And
when I was a kid, they had CB radios, and you had a handle. So that's why that. And now I'm really dating myself. God. But you know, they'd say, "What's your handle?" So that's why it didn't sound right. But yeah, at Penzer Ringside or at David Penzer, and hit me up and check out the podcast. We're trying hard to put out entertaining product like you guys are, and like a lot of people are out there.
Yeah, and your latest episode, you got our own Monday Night Raw reviewer, Matt Morgan, on there. Anything? What was interesting in that interview with Matt?
You know, Matt, a couple of things that really stunned me that I didn't know about Matt, and you know, the fact that Dixie Carter had reached out to him and his wife, and when they were trying to have a baby, and flew them up to Nashville and hooked them up with their doctors when they were, I guess, going through the same thing. You know, you in this world of social media, especially, you tend to, you know, people tend to, you put negative stuff in, it tends to stick. And I don't know. Dixie was nothing but nice to me when I was at TNA, but that was a long time ago. And, you read stuff about what happened at the end, and, then you think you have like a view of somebody, and then you hear a guy, pouring his heart out about, him and his wife desperately trying to get pregnant. And this lady who just happens to own a business that you work for, takes it upon herself to fly you up and hook you up with her doctors. Just showed me a totally different side of Dixie than the public sees. And I thought that was really interesting. And also the fact that he was just, as soon as his son was born, he just decided he would never wanted to, be without his son in a 24-hour period, and just completely walked away from professional wrestling and the money and the roar of the crowd. You don't hear that hardly ever. Most people have to walk away kicking and screaming, get pushed away. So, a couple of stories when he was going, up in the Ohio Valley. But the two things that really stood out for me were the non-wrestling stuff. Him and his wife's plight to get pregnant and having their baby, and him walking away, I thought was riveting, quite frankly.
Yeah, me and Matt got in a bit of a tiff this past Monday night over wrestler pay. How would you say ring announcer pay is in pro wrestling?
I never had a contract. It was funny. I was kidding with Bob Ryder about that the other day when I was at Impact. They were working on a contract for somebody. I don't know who it was, and I was like, I never had a contract. Because in WCW, I was an employee. XWF, I was an employee. TNA, I was independent contractor, and all the other places I worked, there was never a contract. So all those years, I never had a contract. Just thought that was interesting. But it depends. There's not. I'll tell you what. There's not a lot of money on the independent scene because and I get it because you're promoting an independent show and you want to you have a budget of say $5,000 and you want to get wrestler A is $1,000, that's got a headline plus a plane ticket, a hotel, and you want to get some other, minor guys, and you got to get a ring and referees, and you might want to say, hey, I'd love to get a Justin Roberts or David Penzer or Gary Capetta, but I'm running out of money, and the guy at the radio station offered to ring announce for me for free, so I get it, so if anybody ever asked me to do an indie show, it's humbling that they would choose to spend that fraction of money to have me there. That doesn't happen all that often for the reasons I just stated. WCW, I was an employee, so it was a little different of a pay structure. But I had insurance and 401k and all that stuff, and thank God I was an employee because it got me severance pay for almost a year for when the company went out of business, which I don't know what I would have done without. So it wasn't the the $500,000, $350,000 that everybody else was making, seemed to be making in the at the time minimum, but it was enough to live a nice life and take care of my family. TNA, I mean, at the time, it was on a per shot basis, and it's very fair. So it's certainly not wrestler money, but I'm not taking bumps, and I certainly don't expect to be getting wrestler money if I'm not taking bumps. I think the one thing about me is I think I'm humble, but I may not be. I may be an egotistical SOB, but I know my place on the card, and I know my place on the show, and my place is not to be the face of the product, and my place is not to be the star. It's to entertain the fans and announce the matches, and I'm cool with that. I'm just happy to be there for the ride, man.
All right, well, that's awesome. Well, your podcast, I urge everybody to check it out. Sitting Ringside with David Penzer. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, radioinfluence.com. And new episodes are released every Monday, right?
Yes, every Monday morning, and we are working on confirming who our guests will be for this week. And as soon as I know, I will. As soon as I have it confirmed, I will hit it up on my Twitter handle at David Penzer and at Penzer Ringside.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry I couldn't figure out the technology thing. It's thank God at this age that we have teenage kids, because without that we wouldn't know how to use our cell phone.
right, and you're not the first one to have problems with this format.
Yeah, it's hashtag old people problem.
Right, yeah, exactly. All right, well, take care, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks, guys. Anytime. Bye.
All right, bye.
So this Monday night on the Wrestling Inc. podcast, be sure to tune in when Chris, sitting in for Raj, and I are just going to confront Matt Morgan with the alleged salaries of everyone on Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely.
Superstar by superstar, and get his reaction. So Raj, I wanted to ask you, and that was great. Thanks again to David Penzer for coming on the podcast today. So Raj, Wrestling Inc. broke the story about John Cena. Have you heard anything about any other moves post SummerSlam between brands?
I have not. Yeah, I mean, they haven't. My guess is if they are doing it, which it sounds like they are, they'll probably announce it on the Monday after SummerSlam. So
Yeah.
and then it'll be done, the week after that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys that could already use. There's a lot of people that could be sent back because they were doing way better. Like Charlotte was way better on Raw.
Yeah.
But as far as top guys, I don't know. It's obviously Cena's going to Raw, so that's a big void to fill. So
yeah, I saw him advertised for the Raw house show in Fresno. Aside from that, though, it's the current Raw roster being advertised.
Yeah, after SummerSlam, it's pretty much all Raw live events except for when they go to China, and that's a SmackDown show. He'll be on that. He's missing Raw that night because of it, but other than that, he's a Raw guy. So does that mean they send over Roman Reigns or someone like that? I could almost see that. Because you probably want to keep Roman and Cena separated if you want to do an eventual WrestleMania match with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting, but Cena's the only one right now that, you can kind of bank on.
Yeah. And how were Raw ratings this week?
Raw did one of their best ratings since April. Their best ratings since April, since the week after the brand extension. Now, we're talking about 3.2 million viewers. For where they are now, it's a good number. Obviously, over time, it hasn't been. There's been a big drop every year. But things are looking up from May. And June. So yeah, I mean, I think the product's a little better right now. I mean, there was a lot of running in place before, and there still is some now, obviously, but it's more interesting right now, and I think it's reflecting in the ratings a little. And you don't have basketball or much competition, so yeah.
NFL season is about to begin, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Raw usually takes a 10% hit, so if it does that, you're looking at them being in the 2.8, 2.7 million range this fall.
So it was interesting to bring it back to SmackDown last night. They kept it going with the Fashion Files parody, and they did another Twin Peaks parody. I think just riding the wave. I don't know if you guys saw it, but man, did that make the rounds last week on the internet with that first Twin Peaks parody they did. So,
these guys are just so freaking funny and fantastic and entertaining. Just all the superlatives, give them all to them. Just the little nuances that they do. There's very few people that I think could do it. And who knew that Ascension could be comedic geniuses? They've played it off really well in these little vignettes.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great last night, and I mean they've woven so many David Lynch references. I mean they're going back to the well, trying to get some more virality out of that. I thought it was nice having a little payoff with Arn Anderson about who killed Tully the horse. And yes, it looks like there's no slowing down from these Fashion Files segment. Raj, what do you think they do with this? So if we've got New Day and the Usos, are they just going to keep them in these vignettes, or are we actually going to see the Fashion Police wrestle again?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to have they. So Fandango's found now, right? Is that the kind of the thing? So aliens. It was aliens. So
yeah.
He stayed for the wardrobe, guys, just to let you know.
I mean, if you were gonna have the reveal be that it was a tag team, you're kind of debuting him in a comedic setting. You know what I mean? So Harper and Rowan wouldn't have really fit. But yeah, I mean, I think less is more sometimes with the Fashion Files. I don't think it needs to be on every week, and because you don't want it to get old that quickly. So.
Hey, there's still cop shows left to parody, man. They haven't done 21.
Yeah, but have them wrestle here, a couple weeks, and then the weeks they don't wrestle, do the Fashion Files, and I think you'll get more longevity out of it.
Yeah, I bet you there's a Fashion Files at SummerSlam, and they're not on the card otherwise.
Probably, yeah. I mean, you got to look at how many matches they got for SummerSlam right now. I mean, it's
already like 14 or so, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a 6-hour show, but they're probably going to add the Hardys. And so if they add that, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I got 11. I don't know if we're missing one. So with the Hardys, that would be 12.
Okay.
And no, and then they were going to add Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose against Cesaro and Sheamus. So it's 13. That's a ton of matches. I doubt they're going to add anything else.
Yeah. So I have to give them credit. Last night we got 2 women's segments on SmackDown Live. First, Charlotte Flair versus Lana. So are they just sort of running in place with Charlotte right now? I mean, it seems like they don't have anything for her. And with Lana, it seems like they're trying to do a storyline with those backstage segments with Tamina. But, I mean, do you think there's any momentum with either of them, Raj?
No, there's not. And it wouldn't take long to get it. It's just putting Charlotte back in the main event scene. And they might do it. Once Carmella cashes in, it could be they're just having Charlotte running in place until Carmella cashes in and then goes after Carmella. I don't think she'd do it right away. I think they'd go with Naomi and Carmella for a while. But, that seems like a logical step. So.
Yeah.
So it does. I don't think that it's anything like they've given up on Charlotte or anything like that. I think she's just in a holding pattern until she can kind of get into that world title picture.
Yeah.
She is miscast. She is miscast as a babyface, though.
Yeah.
She was so great as a heel.
A couple things for me, guys. They went from Arn Anderson, totally, quote unquote Blanchard, to Charlotte Flair, like in sequence. I thought that was a nice touch. Production wise, I don't know how many other people caught that, but I'm like, okay, it's a little golf clap to the production team there for writing it in that order. But Charlotte sort of played around with Lana during this match. Yeah. She gave the stigma that she knew she was better. She just messed around with her. She was laughing the whole time. I thought that's exactly the way Charlotte should have been presented in this match. But it's also getting Lana over as a sympathetic babyface because I guess she's trying hard. And that's the thing, right? We know she's not good. She says she admits she's not that good. So that's just kind of turned into her character. So I think that's getting her over as a babyface with Tamina at the same time.
So what's up? What's up post SummerSlam with the pay-per-view? So I'm seeing No Mercy, which is a Raw brand pay-per-view, goes on sale, I think today or tomorrow. And that's going to be in Los Angeles in October. Is there a SmackDown pay-per-view in September, or is it going to be Hell in a Cell, the next SmackDown pay-per-view in later October?
Yeah, I think they got let me check our events section if we got that in there. There's one of those like no-name pay-per-views, the generic ones.
Seattle, everyone's speculating Seattle on September or mid-September. But I think that's just speculation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll definitely have one. Hold on, let's see here. We got, No Mercy is. Oh, that's Raw. Yeah. I guess they haven't announced one yet. So, Hell in a Cell would be. I'm sure.
I think Hell in a Cell was announced for Detroit, right?
Right, but maybe they're not going to have one because if they were going to, you'd think tickets would have gone on sale by now.
Yeah, because
Hell in a Cell is only 2 weeks after No Mercy, and that's September 24th. If it was before September 24th, that's just a little over a month and a half. Mm-hmm. They would have announced something. So yeah, maybe they are skipping a SmackDown pay-per-view in September.
Yeah. Well, and Wrestling Inc. did have the story a couple weeks ago, right, Raj, that they're cutting back on pay-per-view events.
Yeah.
This year.
And I think that's a good idea because some of these pay-per-views just feel like just time-filling fodder. Like they just feel like they have to do it, so that's why we're doing it. And more on the SmackDown side because they don't have the same depth of talent at the top as Raw.
Yeah. So speaking of time-filling fodder, last night extended segment, and it was good with Kevin Owens, AJ, and Shane McMahon. So yeah, what do you think? I mean, Raj, are you invested in this, and how do you think it's going to go down at SummerSlam with Shane refereeing the match?
I think it's leading to something with Shane and Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one-on-one or something at Survivor Series. There's been, some speculation that it might be a Shane McMahon team against a Kevin Owens team. So yeah, I mean, if Shane's going to work with someone, he's already done AJ. So I think that's the next best thing. So yeah.
What did you think of this last night, Chris?
I thought this was one of the better segments on the show, honestly, because it actually gave some intensity between everybody involved. And normally I hate guys who throw the video packages on the Titantron, but this time it made sense. And it's like everybody versus Shane, which is kind of weird. So it's like AJ and Kevin Owens were on the same page in a sense that we saw the Shane screwing all the different guys in his matches that he's officiated before. So it gave a sense of animosity between all three. So we know something probably semi-big is going to happen at the match, and probably, go into the whole, like Raj said, KO and Shane thing at a future date. But I like that Kevin scooted out of the way and AJ made and put a kick on Shane. So that was a good little tension setter as well. So I thought this was good overall.
Yeah, it's interesting last night that the high points of the show were all the promos and the segments and not the wrestling. Yeah, man, SummerSlam, that's what makes me worry, Raj, when we talk about them skipping a SmackDown pay-per-view, is I feel like SmackDown, unless they just strap in and try and tell some week-to-week TV storylines, I'm afraid there's just going to be no momentum for, 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And so you got that. Then you got you got 2 pay-per-views in October. So you got 1 SmackDown pay-per-view in October. Then November, you got Survivor Series. So that's both brands. So we're looking at a maximum of 2 more SmackDown pay-per-views this year if they do one in December, unless they do another co-branded one. If they turn TLC into actually, never mind. TLC is already announced as a Raw pay-per-view. So. Yeah,
so I mean, only be one dedicated.
You're already seeing SmackDown move down to relegated to where it was 10 years ago, the last time they did the brand split, where it's a clear B show as opposed to them trying to keep them even.
Yeah, that's where I could see something weird happening with a shakeup post SummerSlam, where they just essentially raid everyone good on SmackDown, moving to Raw, and then SmackDown becomes this weird show headlined by Jinder Mahal and Mojo Rawley for the rest of the year,
Yeah. No, I could see Nakamura staying. The guys that Ben sees as the top guys are clearly Roman, Cena, Brock, Braun, and they're all on Raw. And will he sacrifice one of those to go to SmackDown when he doesn't see that as the A show? I don't see it happening.
It's probably a trade-off with Randy Orton, I think, because I still think Vince sees him in a very positive light and as a big draw, because he gets put in these random matches and will probably beat Rusev at SummerSlam.
I don't think he sees Randy Orton in the same.
Well, maybe not as the couple as those, but I mean, he's been there for forever and has always been pretty close to the top of the card if he's around.
Right. Yeah, but I think he's gotten stale on SmackDown too. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I know in the past, whenever they've done these drafts and roster shakeups, when SmackDown really needed top stars, instead you see Raw get stronger and SmackDown get even weaker.
Yeah.
So
no, I think Randy's going to be the Bret Hart of the Thursday Night Thunder that SmackDown becomes if they raid all the talent and move the good guys over to Raw.
Yeah.
What did you guys think? I just had the weirdest thought the other night. Do you think they'll ever do a cross-brand women's-only pay-per-view? Maybe if Mae Young gets some hot ratings, then maybe, once a year they'll do a women's-only event for both rosters.
I think you would have to include the NXT roster too.
Yeah.
and just make it like a tournament style, like the Mae Young Classic, and just do it with your current talent and just try to showcase some people. But I don't think that makes a ton of sense with what they have right now, with the depth of the main roster talent, and then the cupboard being slightly bare in NXT right now too. But, you know, depending on how many people they sign out of this Mae Young Classic, I think that would be a cool event, but I don't foresee it happening anytime in the immediate future.
Yeah, I just don't see that drawing, you know, to do it at an arena where you're talking about, you know, needing to get 5,000 to 10,000 people as opposed to, you know, the hundreds you get at Full Sail.
They'd have to do it the same weekend as one of the big four. They'd have to do it like the night before Survivor Series or something, because I think you get the right crowd and it would sell out in a heartbeat.
Well, they've already booked those for takeovers
That's
going
true.
forward. So,
So
yeah, I don't see that happening.
So yeah, last night we did get a second women's segment, Carmella versus Naomi. Now this was interesting. Carmella winning. Ellsworth returns. So you think it's going to happen, Raj? SummerSlam, the Carmella cash in, and she wins the belt off either Natalya or Naomi?
Yeah, I mean, I see one of the cash-ins happening, and I think the one that makes most sense would probably be Carmella at this point. You know, I just don't think Naomi has too many interesting feuds right now. And I think Carmella as champion and Naomi chasing is a lot more interesting for her. So, yeah, I think that's what I would bet.
Yeah, Chris, what did you think of the match last night?
And guys, I got to jump on this. Sorry, I got to jump on this GFW conference call. So we'll have highlights from that call on Wrestling Inc. And I'll see you guys. I won't be around next week, but I'll see you guys after SummerSlam.
Sounds good, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Josh. No, the match last night I thought was fine. Carmella's still kind of a step behind some of the girls in the ring, but you know, she showed pretty well last night. Naomi, obviously an athletic freak, so and her offense is actually, I mean, just like ridiculously athletic.
Yes.
But she has been varying up her offense too, which is kind of nice. Like, you know, doing new wrinkles that we've not seen from her before. So match was fine. I still think I like what Raj said with Naomi chasing, having the babyface chasing would be a little bit better, but I wish they would have saved Ellsworth for SummerSlam. Like, just if you're going to make it a moment, don't tease it on a random SmackDown. Just keep him off until SummerSlam and just make this big to-do, just like he helped her win the briefcase. Put people in an uproar again for the third time, and then just sort of use that continuity, that story you've already told, continue telling that story, and then eventually let Carmella win it on her own. So
maybe Natty will convince him to put him in the shark cage with Enzo, you know. It was a little weird, sort of similar stipulations last night to that. But I thought that backstage segment was great. I thought Natalya's looking good, but yeah, I'm worried that she's going to be, you know, a 5-minute women's champ coming out of SummerSlam. Got the interview with Nakamura. He's coming along, you know.
This was good. This was good because I was scared to death when they said exclusive interview with Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm like, oh, great. Another talking segment for Shinsuke because that's what's gotten him over. Right. No.
He's charming, you know.
Well, absolutely. But in short stints.
Yeah.
So what they did is they did a pre-tape with a nice, beautiful video package distracting us from broken English.
Yeah. Even
though his English was really good and he made good short points during this interview, which was definitely his best, I think, since his call up. But that's because they produced it to make him sound good. Like they actually used their strengths to hide his weaknesses, which I thought was very, very good on the production side.
Yeah, that was great. So, yeah, I thought that was solid last night. And coming out of that, we had the grudge match, Jinder versus Randy. The rematch. Randy won. No Singh brothers, though, so I guess that's makes Jinder still sort of keep his edge. But what did you think of that last night? You think this was the end of that feud? Then we had Rusev attacking Randy as we went to credits?
No, I love the very ending there, the last 2 seconds. It felt like a Nitro ending, I thought. You know, as Joshua said, oh, we're out of time, folks. We'll see you next week. You know, one of those type of fade to black type moments, Aleister Black, but we'll watch him tonight on NXT. So But I thought this match was probably their best in their series, because it was a good one-on-one match with no Singh brothers. And I guess their thinking is no Singh brothers, that makes Mahal a little weaker, a little more vulnerable. So that's why they put Randy over clean, which I hate champs losing clean. But if anybody's going to do it, I guess Randy Orton's one of the guys that they'll do it with. So because they have to make Randy look strong against Rusev, who just got beat clean by John Cena. I don't understand the logic behind it, but I thought the match itself was probably the best in their series.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. Just from here, you know, we got to move on from this. I feel like this has gone on so long.
Yep, but I did love the Rusev pretty much took Randy's head off at the ramp as we went off the air. It gave us a little tease for next week. It made Rusev look smart. It made him look vicious. I thought that was a nice touch to end the show.
Yeah, definitely. So that being said, what'd you think of SmackDown?
Thought it was a solid show. Did it blow me away? No, but it moved some things along. It didn't really run in place as much as Raw did, I didn't think. I thought it moved some things along a little better heading into the pay-per-view. So I would give it a B minus probably.
Yeah. Thought it was solid, man, but I'm looking forward to once we get done with SummerSlam and they can really start telling stories. And even if there's not going to be a SmackDown pay-per-view in a while after SummerSlam, I think that as long as they can get in a rhythm and not be beholden to a pay-per-view coming up, maybe they'll be able to do something really interesting.
That and SmackDown's done this too, where they don't have a pay-per-view for 6 or 8 weeks. They'll do their own little mini pay-per-view as an episode of SmackDown. They've done that a couple times so far, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. So you never know what they might come up with. So SmackDown just seems so much more of an overall enjoyable show. I guess more of the 2-hour thing than the 3-hour thing, but it just seems to go by much faster, just in general.
Absolutely, man. So Monday night, back in this podcast, going to have myself, Mr. Chris Callicutt, and Mr. Matt Morgan. Going to talk WWE superstar salaries until Matt's head explodes. Seriously, folks, I don't say this often, but if you haven't watched Monday's podcast, watch Monday's podcast.
Give me a timestamp because unfortunately I missed it too. But
I think it was about probably about 20 minutes in, maybe 10, 15 minutes in. Just gotcha. I was asking a question about when Bayley's injured, how does that work when she's sitting it out? Is she collecting a full paycheck? Is there, hazard pay? How does that work? And it just goes from there, folks. It's absolutely fantastic. And Matt exposes the biz, gives some background per when he was on the main roster. So yeah, it's good stuff. So thanks everyone for joining in, hanging tight today. And we'll be back here Monday on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Chris, anything you want to plug before we take it home here?
You can just find me on Twitter at knockdown_radio. It's on the bottom third there for our video viewers. And hang out with me tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern for the NXT live viewing party.
Cool, guys. So until next time, folks, I'm Glenn Rubenstein, and we'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.